1 year ago today, US sanctions against Iran over its nuclear program were reintroduced. That means the US punish everyone who trades with Iran. And the sanctions have bitten. Iran's economy is in freefall. Soaring inflation has even prompted the government to save 4 zeros off the value of the currency. Meanwhile, many foreign companies are pulling the plug on their operations in Iran.
Once upon a time, doing business in Iran was reasonably straightforward. Now, foreign companies operating there are finding themselves caught up in political strife. Of the 120 German firms that had a presence in the country, half have now pulled out, fearful of angering the United States if they stay. European businesses that want to keep trading with Iran without infringing US sanctions can do so by using a specially created instrument called Instex. But take-up is not widespread. And the reintroduction of US sanctions hasn't only damaged business ties. It's all but eroded Iran's most important source of revenue: oil. Back in March of 2018, Iran was exporting some 2.8 million barrels of oil a day. Just over a year later, the figure had halved, and analysts now say it's close to zero. The International Monetary Fund expects the Iranian economy to shrink by 6% this year. The turmoil has even prompted the government into a drastic move. It's shaved 4 zeros off the value of the rial in order to curb inflation. This could have a bad impact on our lives. It makes me think about how valuable those zeros once were. It changes the value in our minds. My money is now so devalued that I don't see it as worth much. As inflation continues to soar, many Iranians are struggling to afford basics like food and medicine. Unemployment too, especially among young people, is on the rise.
Well, I'm now joined from Tehran by Dagmar von Bohnstein. She's with the German-Iranian Chambers of Commerce. Welcome to the show, Dagmar. 1 year on after the sanctions were introduced, if you compare the business climate in Iran a year ago and today, what has changed since the new sanctions are in place?
Well, I mean, if you look at the figures, it's quite clear what has changed. So the first 5 months in 2018, we had a trade volume with Europe from around 8.5 billion euros. Now, the first 5 months in 2019, it's just around 2 billion euros. So it's 76% less than last year. With regard to Germany, it's around 50% less. So in last year, we had 1.2 billion euros trade. This year, it's only 650 billion.
Oh, well,
so the figures show you that there is a huge reduction in trade, very much to the regret of European and especially German companies.
The figures there are quite clear. But what do the sanctions actually mean for the day-to-day business of foreign companies operating there in Iran?
I mean, the day-to-day business has become much harder. As I can say, not all German and not all European companies have left the country, and by far not all have lost the interest in that market. So they try to stick to this market, but it has become much more complicated and much more costly, especially with regard to the financial transfer, which is the hardest part of staying in Iran.
Well, you mentioned the financial transfer difficulties there. Has Instex, has that helped by any chance?
I mean, Instex can help and will help, but Instex so far is not active. Though the first move has been done but not finalized so far. There are still some technical questions to be answered, especially from the Iranian side. So I guess as we have now a new head of Instex, Mr. Erbel, who is a former ambassador of Germany to Iran and who is very well known here in the country, I'm looking really forward to have him here to make the first strike and the first move gone. And then I guess Instex will be really a great help.
Dagmar von Bohnstein there. Thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.